also, some other students found the opportunity of using artificial intelligence as a guide. So they will say that they would use it in their real life, which was very interesting because they are seeing AI as a guide, but not as the thing that is giving them all the information. As for the personal reflections from this project, the outcomes were very positive because I realized that artificial intelligence gives the opportunity for the students to just focus on the production. They weren't so much focused on writing or doing things, but especially on the communicative approach because they had to communicate their ideas, and you know, it was very authentic and creative as I show you in the video. So they didn't have to worry so much about the grammar performance, but about their production performance. Also, students can critically evaluate artificial intelligence. So I'm going to mention the opportunity that we had at Colombo Manizales to be with Isabel Tejada. So she gave us a very interesting workshop about artificial intelligence, and she talked about the human in the loop. So this is a very important concept because we have to understand that students can have to always be there on checking AI performance for them to make sure that everything is going fine. Also, students reflected on English. This was very important because they worked more than the expected ability that you would have in this project that was the speaking, but also they have listening. No, face. Ready?
Okay, good morning, everybody. So good morning and welcome to the second day of the National ELT Conference in Medellin 2025. We're very glad to have you here as we continue sharing ideas and experiences that enrich our teaching practices. It's my pleasure to introduce our presenters for today, Laura Young and Caterina Pinzon. Today they will be leading a session on project-based learning in the age of AI. So Laura Young is an English language fellow at the Centro Colombo Americano in Manizales. She holds a BA in French and English from Yale University, a master's degree in TESOL from Hunter College, and a master's degree in English language literature from Millbury College. She has led multilingual programs, developed national curricula in the United States, and taught internationally. Her work focuses on language equity, cultural, and culturally responsive teaching. Caterina Pinzon is a teacher at Centro Colombo Americano in Manizales and a volunteer coordinator of the binational TEFL program Making Great Teachers. She is completing a bachelor's degree in modern languages at Caldas University and holds a diploma in early childhood education. She is an alumni of several recognized programs, including the English Access Microscholarship Program, TEFL Making Great Teachers, and the Community College Initiative, Open and TESOL ELT Leadership Management Certificate Program. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Laura and Caterina.
Ooh, that light. Good morning. So I just thank you so much for that welcome, Diana, and just thank you again to Centro Colombo Manizales for being such wonderful hosts. I want to talk a little bit briefly about my backgrounds before coming here. For the past 8 years, I've taught at a public middle school in Oakland, California. Here it is, Urban Promise Academy. And then here are just some pictures of my students. Most of the students I'm working with are recently arrived immigrants, mostly from the Guatemalan indigenous Hmong community. And since February, I've been at the Centro Colombo Manizales, where I've been so lucky. It's so inspiring to see all of the hard work the teachers are doing every day, and also the work they're doing with programs like Access and Making Great Teachers. And
well, this is me. My name is Caterina Pinzon. These pictures are very important to me because they reflect what inspires me in education and in my teaching practice, Making Great Teachers, which is the program that I'm currently coordinator, my mentor, my CCI cohort, and also my students who are the reason why I'm here today.
So today we're going to be talking with you about some work we've been doing with project-based learning and artificial intelligence. So I'm going to talk for a bit, and then Catherine will. And we're going to start, though, with a check-in, and we're going to make it really low-tech. We want to know how you're feeling about students using AI. And I always do feelings check-ins with my students. I can share a link with about 100 more of these. But we're going to go with memes, kind of old ones. And what I want you to do is just hold up both of your fists. So like this. Everybody hold up both fists, please. I should see all fists up. Thank you, everybody in the back. I see almost all fists. And what I want you to think is, okay, which one of these shows how I feel about my students using AI in the classroom especially. So please just now show me what number is how you're feeling. All right, I see sixes. What's this? Oh, that's wonderful. And then I see a 2. Oh, I see many 2s. A 1, that's kind of similar to how I feel. I see 4. Please turn and talk with the person next to you about what you chose and why. Please turn and talk with a partner.
So the ones who participate.
Yes.
So does anybody want to share?
Does anybody want to? Yeah, you want to do it? Yeah. Yeah. And, or you can say, does anybody want a lanyard? I'll pass them out, though. Yeah, yeah. Lanyard. A beautiful
Lanyard.
U.S. Embassy lanyard. Yeah. Or what would you just say what it is in Spanish and translate language a little?
I don't even know how to say that.
Please finish up your conversations.
Okay. Does anybody want a lanyard from the
wait.
U.S. Embassy?
And eyes back up here, and we're quiet in 3 and 2. Thank you, everybody in the middle, and 1. And go ahead.
Okay. Does anybody want a lanyard?
Ah.
Yes. Okay. So now you have to share a little bit your thoughts.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, I chose 4. I feel a bit stressed because I'm trying to, we at the Colombo Americano from Barranquilla, we're trying to figure out the relationship between AI and students, AI and teachers, and in order to find a framework on how to properly use it and how to properly implement it in the classroom or in the whole institutional level.
That's exactly how I'm feeling. Very stressed. Thank you. And thank you. Yeah, he gets the lanyard. Yes, of course. And one other person. Anybody else want to share? I think he had his hand up over there.
Hi.
No.
So, in the discussion that we have, one of us thinks is panicking the 7 because they don't want people using AI. But he choose 5, I choose 2, because he don't want AI in the classroom, but he knows it's inevitable to use AI in the classroom with the students. The students are going to use AI. And for me, it's more like 2 because it's like, oh, they are using AI in the classroom. It's inevitable. They are going to use it, and the only thing we can do is teach them how to use it to be better for their learning because they are going to use it anyway. So.
Thank you. That's a really important point. What I'm hearing from both of you is this idea that we need to develop some type of framework. And what I'm also hearing is this emotion of like stress and concern. And so that's how I felt when I came to Columbia and I was tasked with looking at the use of AI. And one of the first things I did was basically form a focus group of teachers that was basically a bit more of a rigorous version of what we just did. And I want to share some noticings. One is that there's concern around hallucinations, AI-generated errors and mistakes. And all of these could be a presentation in and of themselves. There are ethical concerns, and that can be about intellectual property theft. Most companies like OpenAI are currently being sued by companies like the New York Times for stealing their property. I would say that environmental concerns would also be involved here. We know about AI energy use, but also the use of water for these data centers. These are concerns students should know about, and that we should be aware that AI is we're not using it in a neutral space. But the main concern that our teachers talked about, and this is something that Joellen really went through so beautifully with us yesterday, is about this loss of critical thinking and overuse and student dependence on AI. And so we see that here with some teacher quotes like, ChatGPT is their Bible now. We see it here, they're producing products they don't fully understand. This idea that you just mentioned about how they need to use generative AI to support, not replace learning. And one that really stood out, and we see that here with this AI-generated image of someone using AI to have a metaphor for what it might be like to use AI to do your thinking work. And also, one big aha moment for me was if students see AI as the output for standards of good work, because that looks good to them, and believe that's better than what they can produce, it's going to really undermine their self-confidence. And for me, that was kind of one of the biggest concerns about how maybe the most painful thing AI is doing for students, which is making them feel less confident in their own language, in their own thinking. So these are some of the dangers of AI, but at the same time, as you said, we can't stop students from using these tools any more than we can stop them from using computers. And we also don't want to miss out on ways that AI tools could help us become more effective teachers. And so this is the conundrum that we were faced with. So we formed a committee. Here are members of the AI Implementation Committee. Specifically, what we were working on was revising adult tasks. So the way things work, and I think it might be similar at your institutions at the Centro Colombo Manizales, is that at the end of each module, students have a writing task and also a speaking task. And we see an example here. It could be a discussion, a debate, it's often a presentation. And this is where a lot of student overuse of AI was being noticed, mainly, for example, in generating scripts and then memorizing those AI-produced scripts. And so as the AI Implementation Committee, we were tasked with this goal of making student use of AI part of these assignments. So we had, but we also were thinking about this problem of practice, which is how can we ensure that AI doesn't replace student critical thinking or affect their self-confidence. Oops. And so we developed this framework, this language to think about that. We have the idea of AI enhanced tasks. So these are tasks that are integrated into the project that can include learning about how AI works, its limitations, AI literacy, and then also an element of these tasks that were AI resistant, that where teachers are redesigning these tasks so that they're doing activities that students are doing activities that AI cannot complete independently. And so here's how we did it. We created these cycles of inquiry. So the idea here is that even the smartest, most expert group of people isn't going to come up with the best ideas on the first round. So we create this iterative process, a cycle that you go through over and over to come up with solutions. To come up with solutions. So you design something, you implement it, you get feedback, and you design a new iteration. And the other idea is we're not just innovating for the sake of innovation. We're not it's coming from teachers' problems of practice, of issues that they're noticing in their classroom. So we started with the input. You'll have access to these resources, but we have our theory of action, we have best practices around generative AI and assessments, and we have examples of different projects that we could look at. Here's our methodology, our steps. I'll go through these briefly. We began by collecting task-specific challenges, so that could be related to student use of AI, as we see in the example of the left, or it could just be challenges that we've been noticing in general. Then we used a task planning template to do the task redesign. So this was basically just a way for teachers to brainstorm about how to make this task more meaningful, how to integrate AI, why is AI being used, and what part is AI resistant. We then gave each other feedback on these designs. We used this consultancy protocol that you can take a look at. And the best part, the teacher implementation and collection of student work and artifacts. And then we went through another process where we really analyzed that student work using the Project Zero inquiry cycle framework. That's how it worked. That's a lot of talk. So show me, don't tell me. I'd like all of you, we're gonna go into an example of a task revision that Catherine's gonna take us through. And to kind of get in that mindset, what I'd like you to do is just close your eyes right now, please. So I'd like to see everyone with eyes closed. Thank you. I see in the front, I see eyes closed. And what I want you to do is imagine. And what you're going to do is imagine, it's early Saturday morning. Imagine you're not here, you're eating your favorite meal, the ideal perfect dish for you that you would eat every day for the rest of your life if you had to. What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it look like? Okay, imagine that dish is not available to you. So you have to imagine another one, maybe your second most favorite perfect dish or meal. What does that look like? And now I want you to try to imagine a combination of those two dishes.
Okay, now after you have thought about your dishes actually, we want to see them. So you have to choose one of these two options that I'm going to explain. So we want to see an interesting fusion of the two dishes that you thought about. So imagine if it is an oatmeal salad, or maybe in my case, an ice cream pizza, who knows, whatever, yes. Or we have a second option that is a fusion dish of two cultures. So if you really love bandeja paisa, how would it look with tacos? Yes? So we are going to see that through the following activity. So we please ask you to scan this QR code. This is a Padlet in which, remember, that we are going to show an interesting fusion of the two dishes that it shows, or the combination of two cultures that you really like and you really love. You let me know when you're ready scanning the QR code. Yep. So you can, for the Wi-Fi, there you have the name and the password in case you don't have Wi-Fi here. You're welcome. Yeah. Just sure. Okay. Yeah. Is it okay? Okay, so what you have to do now is that you have to press the plus button in Padlet. Then you're going to find this option of Imagen de Inteligencia Artificial, and then you're going to write down the option that it shows. Remember, like the two dishes that you really love, or the combination of two cultures whose food you really like, okay? Yes, and then we are going to see your responses and your pictures of your crazy combinations. Okay, so we have tomka soup with honey toast. Okay, interesting. Laura created one, which is dim sum from China, and bandeja paisa. Okay. Okay, will you eat it? No. Okay. Good. Okay. Okay, a lasaña mixed with a burrito, cazuela de mariscos con frijoles. Okay. Very interesting options, aren't they? Okay, so I think we can talk about the different dishes that we chose. So let's go back to the presentation. Sushi and a stick. Okay, good. Now, so with the person next to you, we're going to talk very briefly about what was your dish, how did you invent it, like what came up to your mind, how did the picture turn out, how is it similar to what you imagined, and how is it different, or how is it strange, taking into account that these were images created by artificial intelligence. So discuss with your partner or the person next to you for 1 minute. It's fine.
Just listen in on what people are sharing. No, we're just gonna listen in. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I tried to combine a tamal tolimense with a salchipapa, and the results were pretty generic because, yeah, they tend to look like something Mexican rather than something Colombian.
That's a very good point. Would you like to share that with everyone? I'm not gonna give you. We already gave you one lanyard, but yeah, because that's kind of exactly what we want the point we want to make. So we'll do the why we did this activity was fun, and then he actually has the point we want to make about the bias, so we can just have him share.
Good.
Yeah.
And then I talk about the bias, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
He'll say that, and then you can talk about the bias. All right. I think for timing, we'll. So first do how it was fun, and then we'll have people share. Or like why we do the activity. Finish up your conversations, please, and eyes back up here.
Okay, so we consider that this activity is very fun because it engages students into putting their ideas into artificial intelligence. So they have limited interaction with artificial intelligence, but they can go through it and experience it. Also, it's an opportunity for going through the processes that we have in Bloom's taxonomy through creation and evaluation, because there we have a comment which is very important, and that's the point that we want to make through this activity, and it's that.
Oh, hi, it's
Hello.
me. It's me again. Yeah, I really loved tamales tolimenses, and I wanted to have one for breakfast today, and then I wrote, please combine a tamal tolimense with a salchipapa. And what I got was more like an enchilada. I could see, I don't know if it's bias or something, but it tended to be a Mexican image. And I was taking a look at all the images, and they kind of looked Mexican. I don't know why. There was a lot of greens, a lot of green, a lot of yellow, a lot of red. And the image to me was pretty generic. It was not what I wanted to create. It was not what I was expecting.
Okay, so that's actually what we want from students when using artificial intelligence. Because as you mentioned, here we have an example. Do you think this looks like a bandeja paisa?
Not at all. It looks like ramen. So,
Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, like the elements, maybe the organization, the ingredients are not very accurate to what we consider as Colombians or as people who live in Colombia, bandeja paisa. And well, the thing is that artificial intelligence is informed statistically with information that is biased, which means that which means that it follows the weird standards, which is it has information that is Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic, which means that many communities or many people are not represented by the information that artificial intelligence has nowadays. Okay, so that's why we have this opportunity through this activity to evaluate or to let students know that all the information that they are receiving is not quite accurate or not fully accurate, but is also something that could be biased. Okay. Then we are going to continue with the cooking mood. So please put on your chef's hats because we are going to continue talking about food. So do you recognize this logo? Yes? Okay, so for the ones who don't recognize it, this is the logo from MasterChef, a very famous TV show of a cooking competition in Colombia that also has this mystery box. Do you recognize this mystery box? Yes? So for the ones who don't recognize it, this mystery box has specific ingredients that are usually very difficult for chefs to prepare a dish with them, okay? And that was part of the inspiration for the following project that I'm going to explain. Also, I'm going to talk about the real experience that I had as a teacher at the Colombo Americano. So last semester, I had the opportunity to teach an adults group in which we had the opportunity to do a recipe, write down a recipe, and then prepare and show it to a class with food. But what happened is that in the writing down the recipe from students, I started to receive different information that was made by artificial intelligence. Why, you might ask, okay, why do you know that it was artificial intelligence? That's a whole dilemma, right? And the thing is that, as you can see, here, this is like a sample of a recipe that ChatGPT created. And what happened is that my students started to give me this exactly as it is. And as you can see, the emojis are very iconical from artificial intelligence output. So I started wondering, okay, so what do I do here? This is something that it's making things more complicated, but I think it was the inspiration for me to, okay, why don't we use artificial intelligence as a tool and as part of the process instead of taking it away? And that's why I came up with the MasterChef Challenge. Okay? So I'm going to introduce to you this group. They are elementary students, pre-A1, 15 students, 6:30 a.m. program. They had a very similar task as the one that I mentioned before, in which they had to write down a recipe and then show a video showing step by step the recipe that they had chosen, and then give food to the class. They had to use vocabulary of measurements like kilograms, pound, and so on. And also they had to use countable and uncountable in a communicative way, which was perfect because saying or using recipes is very connected to authentic and real-life communication. Then, since I wanted to make this a very authentic task, so we started with assigning them to go home. Yes? So that was their first assignment. They had to go home and check everything that they had in their kitchen. They had to check the available ingredients, their quantities, like to be very accurate. Okay, no, I have onion. I have one pasta Maggi. Yes, things like that. Available tools, if they had a blender, an oven, a stove. Their available times, because since they are adults, they needed to make sure that they had time to prepare this recipe. The level of expertise, because for example, I'm really bad at cooking, but I know that there's some others that really love cooking and are really good at that. And if they wanted a sweet or salty recipe. That was the first thing. They had to take notes. That's it. Then the next class, since I wanted to keep this idea of creating a master chef, I gave them mandatory ingredients, yes? So I told them, okay, for your recipe, you have to use, for your salted recipe, you have to use avocado, salt, cream milk, and cinnamon, okay? As for the sweet recipe, you have to use honey, sugar, banana, and flour. Those were the mandatory ingredients. And then we went to the multimedia room and we used artificial intelligence through this prompt that you can see here. So it basically says all the key information that a student from elementary will need because they are in this process of learning English. They had to give all the information that they had already taken notes of, and then they would receive 5 recipes from artificial intelligence. They used 5 AIs, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Copilot, and Gemini. And then they had to go through reading the 5 recipes that artificial intelligence gave them. Okay. Then, after reading the recipes, they had to evaluate which recipe was the best for them. That's why I gave them a worksheet, in which they had to write down all the information, ingredients, and the recipe that they chose. But most important, I gave them different evaluation questions of the AI performance. So they needed to check and read and evaluate everything that artificial intelligence gave them. For example, I want to highlight the question of, did AI create something that makes sense? And well, it's very important because we have to understand that artificial intelligence, for example, hasn't had the life experience of cooking, yes? It has lots of information, but it has never been in a kitchen. So they had to go through evaluating it. And then they had to create a video. This is a sample of the video that was shown to everybody in the classroom. So we were sharing food, we were sharing videos, we were having a very nice conversation.
Hello, welcome to Cooking with Ale. Let's make some delicious caramelized bananas. Search the ingredients and elements for my recipe. Here are the ingredients: cookie board, air fryer, dry bananas, bowl, vanilla, Play-Doh and cheese, butter, spoon,
Well, yeah,
knife,
that's pretty much it.
and frying pan.
I'm sorry, we have to continue. We would like to receive your feedback for him, for Alejandro. So if you want to give it, feel welcome to do it. And since I wanted to keep this very MasterChef, we did a kind of competition. So they had to do a peer evaluation with these elements: English, presentation skills, final presentation of the dish, and taste of the dish. But it was very incredible so I gave them the opportunity to give from 1 to 5 stars, but at the end, they just gave 4 and 5 stars to everybody. So everyone was MasterChef in the class. And I think this created, as Joellen mentioned, a very strong sense of confidence, because they received very positive comments from their classmates. Like, you are doing really well, you're learning English, you presentation skills are awesome. So it was very positive and created a sense of community. Very fast, some students comments, some students knew how to cook, and they said, okay, but AI isn't being very accurate, giving me what I really need for this recipe. So they understood that they had to go through this process of evaluating artificial intelligence, not just in the project, but also in general. Like, it's a requirement when we are using artificial intelligence to evaluate it. Also, this was also very interesting to me, and is that many students didn't know how to cook, so they follow step by step what artificial intelligence gave them. And they said that they will use it again, that it was very useful, but again, they made emphasis on the importance of evaluating artificial intelligence. So as we had a workshop in Colombo Manizales in the TDP with Isabel Tejada, the human in the loop. The human in the loop has to always be checking, analyzing, evaluating everything that artificial intelligence is giving us. And just some short personal reflections. I want to make emphasis on the importance of understanding that evaluation is the way of using artificial intelligence in this type of projects. First, because they feel more free to use their language than worrying about, for example, in this case, the recipe. It was more about communication, the presentation skills, about them expressing themselves, and also because they used actually the 4 skills. Listening, because they had to listen to their partners; reading, because they had to read and comprehend in an intensive way the recipes; writing, because they had to write down the information; and also, I'm missing the other, and speaking, because, well, they had to create a video and be very authentic with it. But finally, I want to highlight that AI is an opportunity to redirect learning. Is not something that is opposite to us or teaching practices. It's an opportunity for us guiding students through the process of this new area of teaching.
And so we want to just close by underlining something. We want to close by just we do have this chat bot available to you. If you want to go through this same activity, you can use it to reflect on ways to make your projects AI enhanced or AI resistant. And we'll go on to the next one. But we want to close by really just underlining. Oh, you're about to get the slides in a second, and you can have them all and do whatever with them. But we want to close by underlining that not just in Catherine's project, but throughout seeing these different projects, one thing that we're seeing is that students are getting the chance to evaluate the output of the artificial intelligence, to use those higher order critical thinking skills. They're also, but the other thing is that teachers, and thinking about ways to make these projects more AI enhanced and AI resistant, are also just doing things that are part of good teaching, like modeling, like scaffolding, like breaking down a task into a project, like creating something that's really engaging for students and that's meaningful for students. And so we're just gonna close with
Okay,
Catherine's
so
words.
just to end with this, being a very young teacher, I think that all this experience has left me thinking about using artificial intelligence in the classroom is not, is about using our best teaching practices, scaffolding, modeling, guiding, creating interesting experience for the students, and I think that makes me feel very hopeful about this new area of teaching with AI. Yes.
Thank you so much. This QR code has a link to the slides that you're welcome to use, also a lot of the resources and we'd also love if you could give us a little bit of feedback as well, especially because this is a work in progress, these projects.
Thank you so much to Laura and Caterine for sharing your insights and experience with us in this session. So please applaud them again. And thank you all for your attention and participation. Please don't forget to scan the QR code that is pasted on the walls. It's very important for us that you share your comments, your opinions with us about this amazing session in which Laura and Caterina shared with us their amazing experiences. So, and we invite you to continue with the National English Language Teaching Medellin 2025 program and the different sessions we are having during the day. And the special invitation is that we will go to the panel that it's going to start at 9:30. So please go to the Theater 1 and please be careful with the cables over there, okay? So let's go to the Theater 1 because at 9:30 we will start with the panel. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session of National English Language Teaching, Medellin 2025. We are very glad to have you here as we continue sharing ideas and experiences that enrich our teaching practice. It's my pleasure to introduce our presenter, James Hunter. James has taught ESL, EFL for over 35 years and is the director of TESOL programs at Gonzaga University in Spokane, Washington. I said right? He has a PhD in applied linguistics from the University in Birmingham and in UK. And his research interests include second language acquisition, corpus linguistics, instructional technologies, and teacher development. He will be leading a session on get your students talking, interacting, and engaging using a free digital tool, VoiceThread. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to James.
Thanks so much. Thanks, Sebastian. If you don't mind, I'm going to stand here as opposed to way up here, because then I'll just block the screen, which is not useful for anyone. Okay, so we're going to talk about a particular digital platform, VoiceThread. If you've already come across VoiceThread, great, fantastic. What I'd like to do is show you a couple of different activities that you can do using VoiceThread. And actually, this is kind of a Decepto presentation, because what I really want to talk about is a recursive, iterative conversation activity with a very simplistic name, conversation cards. If you haven't come across this before, absolutely do it. It's fantastic. We'll get to that in a second. Anyway, so if you've used platforms like Flipgrid and so on, this is going to look very similar. Well, it won't look similar, but it acts similar, I should say. The problem with Flipgrid, of course, is it's gone. Thank you, Microsoft. So what we're basically talking about here is a way for your students to publicize, just sort of put things out there in public. Now, by in public, I don't necessarily mean for the entire world. I just mean it's out there. You can set up, using this platform, you can set up a class group so that your students can see each other's work. It's not, I should just tell you right up front that this VoiceThread does not allow you to post anonymously, right? So actually, not quite true, you can. But generally, if you set up a class or something, it's going to be for everybody in that class, and they will know who's talking about each other. So that's a point that I want to start with about the value and also the threat of peer evaluation. Okay, a lot of the time, I don't know if you were at the AI session, panel discussion just now, but one of the things we talked about was flipping the classroom. There's other things that we should also flip. As teachers, you are the person who does all the grading. You are the person who does all the assessment. And we can also flip that. I'm very aware that my colleague Bridget Green, who knows me very well, is saying, well, why don't you do that, James? So I'm actually going to show some examples of how we do this. But one thing, for example, is usually if we have students do a presentation, you're assessing it, right? How do we find ways that we can do peer assessment as well? So if you were in Christina and Laura's session this morning, they talked about exactly that. They used YouTube, and then they had the students watch the videos on YouTube and assess them. So this is the kind of direction that I want to suggest that we need to go in. Okay, it's not just us who can assess and give feedback, etc. So let's just jump in. We're going to have a look at a couple of different activities, like I said, and then at the end we're going to try these out, okay, but in real time right here. I just want to point out two things as we go through the slides. The activity that I'm going to show you is linked to this picture. It's also on the QR code. And if you can see right between the picture and the QR code, it says source, right? The source of that is the source of the idea, the teaching idea, not just this. At the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you all of the slides. So you don't need to worry about that for the moment. You just download it, click on anything you want, okay? So here's, we're going to start with this. The first activity we want to look at is called Guess the Sound. This could be done in small groups in your classroom. They just do it on their, one person can do it on a device or whatever technology you have available in your classroom. Or if you're teaching online, do it in breakout rooms and so on. But the point is, it's like, let them do it, right? Let your students do it in groups and figure it out, and then come back and say what they think is going on, okay? So the first couple of activities are gonna look a little bit like this. This particular one, right, is guessing the sound. So you're gonna hear a sound and you're gonna try and say, what do you think that sound is? Okay, straightforward. Language skills that you can either pre-teach or remind your students about are things like, I think it's a, right, very basic, or it sounds like a, blah, blah, blah. So this is just pretty formulaic chunks of language that they can use to do it. So I think it sounds like a car horn, or I think it sounds like a, I don't know how to say this in English, but you know, that thing. Figure out how to say it in English, report it back in English. It's a critical thinking exercise in the sense that they have to provide a reason for why they think it's that. All right, so I think it's a because right? So X because Y. And then also the interactive language of, well, why do you think that? What makes you say that? Okay, so you can see that we're teaching in chunks of language that can be used again and again and again for this kind of purpose. We also can do language of negotiation. So these are the kinds of things that you would set up first, try it, and then make the activity harder and harder so that they are practicing the language but also doing the activity. So let's try that. There's the language that you can use if you want to. And here we're going to go to VoiceThread and actually look at this particular activity. Given that the VoiceThread is something I can set up in advance, right, and it's also something that anybody can comment on, right? Before we actually do this activity, let me just show you a couple of features of this. So over here on the left, you'll see it says me, right? There's a little icon here. If I play this, it's going to play what I said, or what I videoed, or what I wrote. Okay, it'll always look the same. So if you want to make a comment on this, you click this plus down here. And then you have to sign in, which I'm not going to do right now because my computer is up there. But basically, it will say you can do 4 things. You can record your voice. You can record a video. You can type in text, or you can upload something. So you could prepare something offline and then upload it as a comment. Okay, so we're just going to do the activity here. If you guessed fire. Whoa, no, don't give the game away, James. Okay. Guess what the first sound is? Okay. Come on. Technology, don't you love it? Okay. Hi, for this part of the project, you're going to hear a sound, and I want you to write in the feedback what you think that sound is. Are you ready? It's really hard, I know, but try. Okay, so at this point, you're in your breakout room or in your small group, and you'll go, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, I told you what that was, so we're going to go to the second one now. Yep, it's fire. Okay. If you guessed fire, you were correct. Now let's try something a little bit harder. Okay, so this one I'm going to play it, and I actually want you to talk to each other. Okay, let's try this now. Assuming that it actually, come on. Here we go. Okay, 30 seconds, go. Talk to each other, figure out what that sound is. Ready, go, 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 go. No, okay, fine. If you guessed fire, you were correct. Oh, no, ignore that. Okay, anyone want to try? What do you think it is? Somebody cutting something? Yeah, what do you think up there? Writing something. It sounds like a spray. You get 100 points for not only getting it correct, but also using the language, right? So it sounds like a, yeah, spray bottle. Okay, spray bottle, yeah. Right, what's that? It could have been a, yeah, exactly. Just take a quick time out for a second and look at that activity, the energy that right just there. It's just like, oh no, it's this, I want to, So this is not, I mean, this is produced by me, the teacher, not the students. We're going to get on to student production in a second. But this is just warming you up, or warming the students up for how to use this platform and how to comment, etc. And it's fun and engaging, all right? So, well, I think it is, anyway. Yep, go for it. Excellent question. Right underneath the picture of the woman listening, there's a thing that says source. You can go to that source. It's a YouTube video that has all of this on. All right? So it has 30 different sounds, and some of them are crazy hard. Right? And we're just sitting there going, I have no idea what that is. And which is great. Start with something easy, build up to it so that they're going, okay, I really have to think about this, and use the language of negotiation and etc. So yeah, all of those, where it says source there, you're going to find all of these materials. Okay, okay, so we're going to go on to the next one. This is pretty much the same idea, but this time we're going to look at images instead of sounds. Same kind of language skills. It looks like a, sorry, I put sounds. It looks like something like that. It could be, we could introduce epistemic modals. It might be, it could be something. Adverbs like it may be that, or possibly, and so on. And again, the language of negotiation. So pretty much the same thing, but just with images this time. And I want to make sure I'm at the beginning. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to look at an image. See if you can guess what this is. Add your comments either as text or audio. Okay, so you'll notice that before I clicked on it, this is actually not my laptop. I had to log in using somebody else's, and I forgot to log into VoiceThread. Presentation boo-boo number one. But the students would just go in and create an account. It's free, they can just do this, and then they can comment on each other's work. Okay, you ready? Same thing, you're going to have 30 seconds to try, 45 seconds to try it, a minute, to try and guess what this is. Ready? Go. Okay, extra points if you can get the epistemic modal in there. Okay, could be, should be, might be, must be, can't be, etc. Who wants to try? A drain, okay. Could be a drain, something like that. Yep. Other guesses? A kaleidoscope? No, not the slightest clue. I love that. Not the slightest clue. Everybody, repeat after me. Not the slightest clue. Great bit of language there. Thank you. Okay, do you want to see what it is, or yeah? Pipes under the ground. Like a drain, right? Yeah. Have you all come across visual thinking strategies? Do you know what that is? VTS. Oh, no? Do you know what that is? VTS, visual thinking strategies. If you don't know what that is, it's an incredibly powerful technique I'm not totally doing it right now, but this would be a great way to implement VTS as well. Okay, so just plant that seed. Do you want to know what it is? Too bad. No, I'm kidding. Not a chance, right? Haven't got a slightest clue. Exactly. There's no way you could have got that. Anyway, you get the idea. You can put a bunch of pictures up, have the students talk, then say, what's your best guess? Pick somebody in the group. They have to report back and say this, right? So we're building interactive activities that way. Okay. Next one. We're going to take it up a notch. I just mentioned visual thinking strategies. Visual thinking strategies, VTS. Write that one down, or just put it in the back of your heads. It's very, like I said, a very powerful technique for eliciting language from students. And it's also, what I love about it is that the teacher's role is to ask 3 questions, and that's it. What do you see? What do you see that makes you say that? What else do you see? That's it. That's not exactly the entire role of the teacher. Teacher's also paraphrasing. So we're working with language learners. They don't have the complexity, accuracy, and fluency that you have. So this is an opportunity. They say, you know, it may be drain. And you go, oh, okay, so you think it's a drain? What else do you see, right? So you're paraphrasing the language. Super powerful technique. Anyway, this is picture description, okay? For this purpose, I'm using Norman Rockwell, a United Statesian artist from the 1940s and 50s. Again, ideas for this kind of thing are here. You could do this in small groups, you could do it individually, and so on. So this is, we're gonna have a look at this. Again, this is on VoiceThread. My colleague, Bridget Green, put this one up here, and this was for an online conversation group that she was doing with very proficient speakers. So right at the beginning, we'll see Bridget's introduction. Come on. Okay. I'm just going to reload it in the hope that the internet will work for me. Okay. This is not VoiceThread, by the way. This is the internet. So basically, Bridget sets it up, says, okay, guys, I want you to do a picture description here. Post your responses down below, okay? So I'm not sure that this is going to work because it's a video, but let's see if it loads up. So Bridget asked me to do one of these, and I said, okay, I did my picture description. And then, as you can see down below, there's a whole bunch of other students participating in this and doing this. I think what's making this very slow is that these are videos instead of just voice comments. But again, I want to remind you that you can do video response, voice response, or text response. So you don't have to do it as a okay. Oh, there we go.
Hey everyone, this is James, and I'm commenting on this Norman Rockwell picture. To me, this looks like a father and son at a train station. The father is, I would say, a working man. He's wearing...
Okay, so you get the idea there. I'm going to scroll down and pick another couple of them.
Hello everybody, my name is Aida. In this picture, I see an old man and a young boy sitting on a bench and a dog next to them. I think that it's the dog's home. The boy.
Okay, to me, this picture is about 2 guys. They are siblings. Yeah. They have a dog. They are waiting for a train because the younger guy.
Okay, so as you can see, they're just responding to the picture, right? That's what they're doing. Another element of this is actually giving peer feedback to each other. So do you want to comment on each other's comments, which you can also do. And I just want to point out one other thing. You can download this video or this response or comment. You can also link so that you can respond to it in that way. Say, oh, okay, here you said these things. I just want to give you a couple of pieces of vocabulary, you know, that would help you to describe this picture or whatever. Okay, so basically, it's a platform for either doing activities or you could do, you know, assignments, projects, etc. VoiceThread has the ability to upload PowerPoints. So it would make a PowerPoint from each slide. Sorry, a slide from each of the slides from PowerPoint, and then you can narrate them as well. So instead of having your students present in class, you could have them present online, and then they can comment on each other's work like that. They don't have to build it in VoiceThread, basically. Okay, so here's some examples of that. So these are projects that either I've done or some of my colleagues have done. The first two at the top, I'm just going to play one of them, but these are very low-level students, probably like below A1. So this was their first project that they had to do. They practiced it using VoiceThread. They got feedback from the teacher, and then they practiced it live in the common area, the student union for everybody. So it's terrifying for them. These are international students from Italy and from Saudi Arabia, and they practiced this, and then they talked about themselves to like anybody who came up to their table, right? So in order to build their confidence and make them feel that they could do it, we did it on VoiceThread first. So I'll give you a quick example. Let's do Majid. Come on.
Hello, my name is Majid. I am from Saudi Arabia. I am 16 years old and I am studying English in Gonzaga.
Pretty straightforward, very simple, but he's...
Majid, really nicely done. Good job on that. Only one thing to point out. You said, I'm studying English in Gonzaga, but we use the preposition at when we're talking about a place here.
Okay, so this feedback allowed him to then work on it again, go out, and then when he was presenting live in front of, you know, anybody who came by, then he could do it that way. So that's kind of a describing yourself. I'm not going to go through all of them. If you want to, you can have a look at them later. But what I am going to do is do this one. So this is now an undergraduate. So this is a student from the United States. He's undergraduate, and he was doing a heritage project, meaning find out your heritage since immigration, your family's immigration to the United States. He's actually, his family is from Mexico, so he said, we didn't immigrate to the United States. The United States moved the border. And it's a great little quote in the middle of this. So I'm just going to play you a second of this. Again, very proficient. This is obviously a fluent speaker of English now, but great model as well. If it loads up. Okay, we're not going to do that one. Let's try. I'll probably have to sign in for this too, so I'm going to move on. This second one, I teach in a graduate program, so this is my graduate students doing this, talking about L1 use in the classroom. Some of these, this is a mixed group. We have some fluent speakers, well, they're all fluent speakers, but some born in the United States and some international students. And again, group project, they're just putting it up here, and then they peer review each other's work based on that. Okay. Okay, and this is the bit that I really wanted to get to today. The final idea that we're going to talk about is using conversation cards. So we're going to do this and then try it out ourselves. So again, in this case, Fahad's conversation card up here, this was talk about your, the topic is my city. So he had to talk about his city. Again, lower than A1. Lower than A1 is a really particular, it's very culturally dependent. Students from Saudi Arabia are super oral. They're some of the most oral people I've ever come across. They can pick things up and understand things that nobody else could understand. But when it comes to writing things, it's a lot more challenging. So reading and writing literacy skills are a lot more challenging, but you'll say, there's no way that kid is A1. I promise you he was, okay? But, so here we go. This is the my city, okay?
Hi, Mr. James. Today I will talk about my hometown. My hometown is the capital of Saudi Arabia. My hometown is Riyadh. There are 5 million people in my city. If you want to visit my city, you can say King Saud University, and you can say Al-Faisaliya Tower and Al-Mamlaka Tower, and you can visit King Fahad Stadium. It's a big stadium. But my city, it's very hot and very crowded. My free time, I go to watch a game of football in the stadium. I wish you can visit my city. Goodbye.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about sort of the activity of conversation cards in a second, but you will have noticed a couple of things about what he was saying, how he was saying it, and your teacher brains were probably going, okay, it's not game football, it's football game, that kind of stuff, right? It's hard to resist that as a teacher. But what I want to point out about this is that this going on to VoiceThread to record this was at the end of the process, all right? So we'll talk about the process in a second, but you can see from his conversation card that he's misspelled some words, right? Right, and you'll notice that he has 5 million Bibel. Now that's classic Arabic speaker error, right? Because Arabic doesn't distinguish between b and p, right? So he actually wrote out Bibel, but that's not what he said, is it? He said people, and he said it very, very carefully. And the reason for that was he had already practiced this in class. And one of his classmates said, it's not Bibel, it's people. So when he came to record it here, he got it right, right? So we're going to talk about that whole process in a second. Of course, there are still some spelling mistakes. Of course, there are problems, but that's not really the issue. The issue is about raising fluency and confidence, all right? So I'm not going to jump all over this and say, hey, you spelled tower wrong or whatever. It's like, that's all right, he'll figure that out. So we're just going to go in and dive into this activity now, what it actually looks like. Yeah, so we're going to sort of talk about conversation cards and the construction of this. So this is an activity. I want to tell you a quick story. About 20 years ago, I was teaching in Japan, or I was hired to teach some conversation classes at a university, women's university in Japan. And I said, sure, I'd love to. And I said, you're going to have 3 conversation classes. Excellent. And a week before the class, I got the class roster. And 3 classes, each of them had 60 students on, 60. I went into like total panic mode because it's like, how do you teach conversation with 60 people? This is crazy, right? It's just not going to work. And so it's like, what am I going to do, you know? So immediately started sort of looking for activities, looking for things that we could do, and came across this guy called Dwayne Kint, who was at that time teaching at a university in a different city in Japan, Nagoya. And he had this whole website about students' own conversation cards. And I'm like, that looks interesting, let's try that. So that's what I did. That was the entire class. And we'll go through it in a second so you can see, but each of these pictures here, by the way, is a link to his site. So if you're interested in this methodology, just click on those links and find out. Basically, I'll take you through the setup really quickly. Okay, so this is how I did it. At the beginning of the class, right at the beginning, first day, after introductions, etc., I said, okay, what kinds of things do you want to talk about? 60 students going, shopping. It's like, great, what else do you want to talk about? You know, and then slowly just listed all of the ideas on the board, like shopping, getting my part-time job, getting married, women's university, so there were a lot of getting marrieds and that kind of stuff, okay? So we said, okay, we've got 10 weeks, we're going to pick 10 topics. What are your favorite 10 topics? And they listed them. It's like, great. We'll start with topic number 1 next week. So they chose it. It's a very student-centered in that sense. They chose the topic itself. Okay, so then next, we showed some examples of good and bad conversation cards. Okay, so what a conversation card is not is a script to read, right? We don't want that. We want you to take an idea and try your best to express it in this target language. Even if it's not perfect, don't worry about that. Just try to talk. So it's a way of building this. The other thing is they know that they're not going to be talking to the whole class. They're just going to be talking to one person, right? So the pressure is off to be perfectly accurate, etc. So a good conversation card probably looks something like this. There are no sentences. It's not just a paragraph. There are some pictures, right? So it's things to help you think about this topic and to prompt your memory about the ideas, but they're not actually just full sentences, so you're not reading it. So on the day that you're doing this activity, everyone brings their card, right? So this is something they do outside of class and then come in. if you can make them in class too, if you want to flip the classroom, sure, do it that way. The next thing is the logistics, the classroom management. If you've got 60 people and you're trying to do this, you need to think about in advance about how you're going to move them. Why move them? Because they're going to have the conversation 2 or 3 times. Okay? So, for example, you two can talk for the first one, but then we want to move one of you at least somewhere else so that you can have a new conversation. Does that make sense? Okay? So you'll see this very cute little drawing here, right? This is, again, from Dwayne Kint's site, and it's like, yeah, I'm going to have the students, half of you stay where you are, the other half you're going to move one person there, or 2 people, whatever. Okay? So it's just thinking about the classroom management aspects, which for me was about the most challenging thing, right? Because it's like, oh my God, 60 students, how to do this? It's fine. It's not that hard. Okay. Set a timer. So for beginner students, I'm going to say you're going to talk for 4 minutes. That's 2 minutes each, right? And 2 minutes, it's not just you talking the whole time, because your partner is going to ask you questions. Wait, what? What's a Bibel? Right, for example. Okay? They're going to ask you questions, so they're going to interrupt. So 2 minutes seems like a lot, but it really isn't, right? 4 minutes, set the timer. All right, some of you are going to move to a new partner now. And, okay. When time's up, before you move them, say, hey, did you hear any new vocabulary? Did you hear any new expressions? Like, yeah, he said, I hadn't got the slightest clue. Great. Write that one down. It's new material for you, okay? Flip the card over and so on. And then, again, I want to credit Bridget Green with this idea. If you do this 10 times or even like 5 times, then you can use that as a speaking assessment at the end of your course. Right? Because they built the card, and you can say, all right, you're going to come in, you're going to bring 5 cards with you, and I will say, okay, take your My City card, go ahead, have a conversation. They've already done it, they know what to expect, they've got extra vocabulary, they've practiced it, they put it on VoiceThread, so they should be pretty good at doing this by now, right? We don't want to surprise them with a new topic, right? Talk about, I don't know, quantum computing. No, we'll say talk about one of these topics that you've talked about before, but you don't know which one. I'm going to choose it. Right? So just practice them all. Okay? Okay, so let's have a look at what this looks like in real life. You up for this? You want to do it? Everyone say, yeah, let's do it. Okay, all right. So because you're very, 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 very proficient speakers of the language, we're going to do something a bit more challenging than My City. Okay, so we're going to do this. What brings you joy? Okay, don't forget, please put your name and where you're from in the middle. And then the topic is, what brings you joy? Okay, topic part B is, how do you make time for it in your life? All right, so you could, for example, say, being with my friends brings me joy. So, no sentences. Thank you very much for reminding us. Picture, drawing, single words, whatever you want, okay? How do you make time for it? So this is very much SEL, social and emotional learning, how you self-care and so on. And if you have time, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to make this card, so it's not very much time. 4 minutes to make this card. Okay, and if you have time, topic part B, what stresses you out? Okay, and how do you deal with it? This can be in your personal life or your professional life or both. Okay, whatever you want. Okay, we're going to give you 4 minutes or so. If you don't have any paper, or if you're watching this at home, just take out a piece of paper. We also have a very nice Nelt notebook here. You could use that. I'm just going to talk very briefly about design. A lot of us are not artists, which is fine. You'll notice my Saudi student, Fahad, he said, I'm not artist. And I go, that's fine. Just get a picture, print it out, put it on your card. But do something visual. That's all. Okay? For example, if you're talking about whatever the topic, if the topic was food, and he said, my favorite food is kabsa, and it's like, I don't know what kabsa is, so you're going to have to explain it, or put a picture, or both. All right. So we don't have time to make this beautiful right now, but to what? Yeah. Until the end or until 11:35. So if anyone's at home watching this, I apologize. You can still make a card if you have a friendly family member or friend or pet or houseplant. You could talk to them about this. Question? No. Okay, 2 more minutes? 1 more minute? I have one. No, we won't. Perfect. Okay. All right. Since we have about 8 minutes left, we're going to try this out. So I'm not going to do all of the classroom management stuff and moving you around. So for the purposes of today, I just want you to talk to a neighbor. Okay. So find someone nearby. If it ends up being 3 people, don't worry about it. But we're going to do pretty quick, 4 minutes, which means basically 2 minutes each of talk time. Okay. And are you ready? Any questions before you start? So we're going to do this for 4 minutes, and then I'm going to say change partners. So you have to find a different partner to talk to, okay? So are we ready? Can you identify a partner? Fist bump or high five your partner. Okay. And if you don't have a partner, I can be your partner. As a teacher, I try not to be a partner. Right? Because I don't want them to be intimidated by my presence, right? Threes are fine, yeah. If you end up with a 3, totally fine. Just remember you have to share the time out a little better. Okay, ready, here we go. So 3, 2, 1, go. Set my timer for 4 minutes. Okay, that was not 4 minutes because we don't have time, but pretend it was. Okay, and now you're going to change partners. Try to find a different partner now and do it again. Okay, so look behind you, look around you, see if turn around, whatever you need. Find a different partner. Yep, Sebastian's a perfect partner. That's great. Okay. Okay. So let's come back together in 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Okay, so let me just ask you a quick question. You just had 2 conversations. Were they exactly the same? No, of course not. You're talking to different people, right? So one of the things I love about this activity is its recursivity, right? So it's recursive. It's not just repetition. You're not just doing the same thing twice, right? You're having a different conversation with a different human being who has different needs, goals, desires, etc. than you, and then your last partner. So this is real, genuine communication. So if I were the teacher, but actually before I do that, did you notice what I was doing while you were talking? No. That's ideal, right? I am totally out of the picture. I did not go outside to have a cigarette and a cup of coffee, right? What I did was watch you really carefully. So now's my opportunity, and perhaps between each conversation I can say, guys, you are doing active listening so well. You are really paying attention to each other, and you're nodding, going, me too. Yeah, I know. What's that? That kind of stuff, right? So you're teaching active listening skills. This is an opportunity to practice them. I also said, oh, a couple of you are doing really, really well at giving examples, right? You don't just say, for example, for example, for example, right? You've got different ways. Can any of you remember the different ways that your partner said, and then they generate the language like that? So this is, it's very much seeing your students as a resource in the class, right? They're human beings, they're fully participating in this, they're bringing their whole selves, okay? All right, now back to what I would actually do. So were any of you surprised by things that stressed you out or stressed your colleagues, your peers out, or things that bring joy to them? Anyone want to talk about it? You do. Yeah. this is the thing, even with people you've known for a long time or you've been in class with for a long time, of course this is great community building in any classroom. But even with people that you've known for a long time, you're going to be surprised by what you find out, right? And again, this is social and emotional learning. It's building, definitely building community, which is a huge part of SEL anyway. And then it's just like practice. Like even the people who really don't want to speak cannot just sit there next to a partner and not say anything. In Japan, students are socialized very strongly not to speak in class. Not to speak, right? If you talk, if you raise your hand, you're basically saying the teacher is no good because the teacher cannot explain well. So using this in Japan was shocking to them in the beginning, but it's like, I'm not listening to you. I promise I was. But I say, I'm not listening to your conversation. I'm just going to be, you need to practice, you need to speak. Okay, I think we need to wrap it up. I do want to leave a little bit of time for questions, but I also want to, I'd love it if you could do an exit ticket. This is just giving me feedback about this presentation. I will, and then the next slide is my slides. So if you want, I'll leave it up there when we finish. So go ahead and do that feedback. Also, if you have any questions or comments or thoughts that you want to say out loud at this point, please do. But what I would do, if this were my class, I would say, now go to VoiceThread and record your part of the conversation, right? So, hi, my name is James. I want to tell you about things that bring me joy and things that stress me out, right? I've just practiced it twice at least, maybe 3, maybe even 4 times with different people, so I should be pretty confident now to be able to record that fluently. It may not be perfect, it may not be 100% accurate, it's fine, right? The idea is to build, I'm not saying that we shouldn't give corrective feedback, absolutely we should, but we don't need to do it while they're speaking. We can do it afterwards. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of 2 things. You can do low tech or no tech, just exactly what we just did. Don't worry about VoiceThread, don't do any of that. But the bit that I like is that they can see now we have to go to something that is out there, right? It's not just me speaking in class, then it's gone, right? But there will be a record of this. One of the cool things about this is you can go back in 6 months or 3 months or whatever and say, listen to your first VoiceThread. Do you think you have improved? And every single one will go, yeah, of course I've improved, right? So they can hear their own progress. So in answer to your question, do we need to go into VoiceThread first? Yeah, but VoiceThread is the technology. This is the activity, right? Yeah. If you want your students to comment on VoiceThread, not just watch or listen, then they have to sign in. Again, it's free, so not a big deal, but if they have the technology. Okay. I'm going to leave this up here. These are the slides. And thank you very, very much. Thank you for participating in this great conference. It was great to meet some of you. It's great to see all of you. And have a great rest of your Saturday. Right. Thank you.
Thank you very much to James for sharing us your insights and your amazing experience with us in this session. Thank you all for attending the different sessions of the National English Language Teaching Medellin 2025, both in person and from home. We truly appreciate your participation and commitment. We hope that each of these experiences will enrich your teaching practices and inspire you to continue growing together as English educators. Thank you so much.